Hi guys and welcome to Awesome Qualifications for the World Cup. We have an international break, but still there are so many games to place our bets on. So we are gonna trust Dani Fisichella to give us some tips. Let me know what you think in the comment section and you will have the chance to win a £10 free bet with Novibet. And do not forget to click on the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get all the notifications. And now let's listen to Dani's tips. World Cup qualifiers in Europe, international break, but we have many games to enjoy in these next 2 weeks with Dani Fisichella. Let's analyze the best 8 games. Ciao Dani, how are you?
Ciao Edu, I'm very well. Well, you know, we had an exciting weekend across Europe, load of big results, strange results as well across the 4 main leagues, and now a round of 3 fixtures over 8 days. Some people say it's unnecessary, so you know, a lot of traveling as well, but I'm sure they're gonna be surprising results across the next 10 days.
And we have again a lot of games. We've chosen the most interesting ones, especially from the betting perspective. So let's start with the first one. On Wednesday we have Turkey, Netherlands. And you spoke, Dani, just now about the surprises that we might see. And actually, if we check the odds for this game, Turkey's victory 5.5, Netherlands 1.78. So if you fancy the Turkish surprise, this is a good one. We know how good they are playing at home. Last time they met was in a European qualifier, and Turkey won 3-0 at home 2015, Dani. But since then, we know how Netherlands have improved. They beat Poland and Bosnia in the Nations League in their last game. Again, they've improved a lot, even with Fran de Boer. Would you fancy here a double chance, for instance, for Turkey?
I'm not sure about it, because if we look at the recent form of Turkey, they only won 1 in the last 6, but it's true, when they play at home they look much stronger side. Remember, they beat France 2-0 in the Euro qualifiers. They will be in the Euros deservedly. I think the national coach Senol Gunes doing a good job, because he's combining the youth of the team with some experienced player. I mean, the captain Burak Yilmaz, 35 years old, he's from Lille, he's their best goal scorer. Turkey depends a lot on their mercurial player, which is Hakan Çalhanoğlu, which is in a good form as well. He scored the winner for Milan in the win at Florence, so you know, he comes into this game with a lot of confidence. However, they face a Netherlands team which is unbeaten in 5. Remember, recently they also won in Germany, but that was under Ronald Koeman. So this is a big test. This qualifies a big test for Frank de Boer in preparation, of course, for the Euros. They're without Van Dijk, of course, so that could be a little an issue at the back, but they can count on a solid block of Ajax players that have done so well in the league and are doing so well in the Europa League. Gravenbeck, Klaassen, they've been excellent. They've only scored 3 in the last 3 away games, Netherlands, so it's a bit difficult to go here for an outright wins. Let's go for goals instead. Over 3 goals, 240. Obviously, if there are 3 goals, you get your profit.
Fran de Boer still has trust in Luc de Jong instead of Weghorst, doing a great job for Wolfsburg. So you go for goals in Turkey, Netherlands. Is more clear the outright market in the next one. France, Ukraine. France, of course, one of the best, if not the best, national team at the moment. They beat Sweden 4-2 in their last game. Also Portugal in a very good class in these games were in the Nations League. And Ukraine, they lost 3-0 with Switzerland. The same with Germany, still a young team. Dani, last time they met, there was a 7-1 victory. It was a friendly game for France. So here, actually, if we want to find good odds, we have to go for Asian handicap for France.
Absolutely. And if we look at the team that France has, you know, world champions still, of course. And, you know, it's a team that sometimes you can pick the players they haven't picked. So the people that they haven't called up. No Benzema this time. Okay, we know the issues with the manager. Surprisingly, surprisingly, no Theo Hernandez, the left back from Milan, who's been excellent this season in Europe and in Italy. But of course, they can count on players in good form. Mbappe scored twice at the weekend. Griezmann is in form. Pogba has been very influential in the last games in Europe for Man United. He scored the winner at Milan, and France comes on the back of a great Nations League results. They were unbeaten in the group with Portugal, Croatia, and Sweden. They face a Ukrainian team which will be in the Euro, which is a great success for Andriy Shevchenko. It's a young team, we said it many times, and we saw many of these Ukrainian players playing through the European campaigns this season with Dynamo Kiev, with Shakhtar. I think they're building up that experience. Perhaps they're not quite there yet. The Ukrainian team haven't done as good as they could have done so far in Europe. In fact, they're all out of the main competition. Ukraine have lost 4 of the last 5, so they were relegated to Nations League B, but when it matters, they can deliver. They top the group against Portugal to qualify for the Euros. They concede quite a lot. They conceded 12 goals in the last 5, and as we said previously, I think they lack a big goal scorer. Basically, they lack Shevchenko, probably, or Rebrov. If you think that the best scorer within the squad is Yarmolenko with 34 goals, and he barely played this season for West Ham, you can see maybe they will have some troubles against France. On the other hand, Malinowski has been good for Atalanta, so he could be important, but I think France are going to run riot. They're going to win comfortably. So let's go for France to score in both halves, 225.
France, after they have 2 away games against Kazakhstan and Bosnia, so much more uncomfortable that this one that they should win. Also, one of the favorites to win the Euro in the next summer and probably in the World Cup with Roberto Martinez in charge. Belgium, Wales. Danny, I remember you analyzing Belgium the last time and saying how strong they are when playing at home. And now they face Wales. Probably they won the vendetta after the defeat in the Euro, with Wales coming back and winning 3-1 that game. Belgium, they beat Denmark, they beat England at home in their last games of the Nations League. Pending about Lukaku with the inter-COVID outbreak. And Wales, we know that in the recent years they've doing pretty well, qualified for the Euro. They want to be in the World Cup. They don't have Ramsey, they have Joe Allen. And here the odds give Wales no option, basically.
Well, Belgium is the top team in the FIFA ranking for what it matters, but they're number 1 and they've been number 1 for a few months. The last time they lost was in the World Cup semi-final in June 18, and that was against France, and that was the last time they failed to score. They come into the game with 16 consecutive wins. Maybe they probably have to do it without their main goal scorer. Lukaku probably might not be allowed to travel because of the COVID Inter outbreak, but they can count on a team on attack that has scored 40 goals in the Euro qualifiers. Best attack of the Euro qualifiers, 17 goals scored in the last 6. So everything says they're gonna have a goal feast at home. Mertens is in great form, scored 2 at the weekend, 100th goal for Naples in the win at Roma, and obviously after the injuries come back very strongly. The only problem maybe with Belgium is the defense. It's a bit old, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Vermaelen, they are all in their mid-30s, so they need a change of the guard probably after the Euros, but I don't think they're gonna have issues in this game. Although Wales, as you said rightly, they are in good form. They qualified for the Euros. They had a very good reaction after losing the first few games. They won 7 of the last 8. They are unbeaten since June 2018, and they also won the Nations League group. So it's obviously a team with Ryan Giggs. It's going up, is on the rise. However, if you look at the squad of Wales, many players play in the English Championship, so in the 2nd division. But as for Belgium, they all play in the top teams. The 2 stars are Bale, who's having an okay season with Spurs, a bit up and down, and Daniel James, who's in and out of Manchester United. I don't think they can do it against Belgium, so let's give it Belgium an Asian handicap of -1.5, 204.
Well, okay, season, I think we should be more demanding with Bale, but it's true. In the last weeks, he's doing better.
Yeah.
Before, next one is an interesting one. Maybe the names are not that big. We have Serbia, Ireland in Belgrade, because the odds for Serbia are 1.75. Of course, they are really disappointed after the draw against Scotland and being out of the Euro. They had it in their hand, but they were doing all right before. Their last official game was a 5-0 to Russia in the Nations League. And Ireland, they are really bad, Danny, at this stage. The last two games in the Nations League was a draw against Bulgaria, a defeat against Wales, only 3 points in these Nation Leagues, 9 games without victories. And we always say not traveling to Serbia, Croatia, or the Balkanic region is always tough. Even if Serbia, again, they were really, really disappointed after the draw with Scotland and being kicked out by penalties.
Absolutely, that's a massive disappointment for them, and they will try to, of course, bounce back and qualify for the World Cup. You know, in World Cup qualifiers, Serbia have done okay recently. They qualified in 3 out of the last 4 World Cup, whereas with the Euros qualifiers, they haven't qualified since 2000. So this is probably what obviously they need to target. They are winless, and they only won 1 game in the last 11, Serbia, although they played 2 friendlies in January against Panama and República Dominicana, which is more of a experimental team, youth team. But if you look at the FIFA ranking, you have to go down to the 30th spot to see Serbia. They are behind Venezuela and Iran. So that tells you how much they've fallen behind. New manager for Serbia, the great, the myth, Dragan Stojkovic. Pixie, you know, the great number 10 of the 80s, the 90s, Red Star Belgrade, star obviously of Italia 90. However, not a manager of great experience. He only managed in the Japanese league and in the Chinese league. He won only 1 Japanese title in 2010. He was a former president, of course, of Red Star Belgrade, but it's a big job for Stojkovic to revitalize a team that has got talents. You know, they got Juricic from Sassuolo, they go Tadic, of course, from Ajax, is doing a great season, and of course Vlahovic, you know, more than 10 goals in the Italian Serie A. I would imagine he should start ahead of Aleksandar Mitrovic, as well as Milinkovic-Savic. Then you got Milenkovic at the back, so a lot of players that play in the Italian league as well. But with Ireland, you have to go even lower than Serbia in the FIFA ranking, 42nd, 42 spot in the FIFA ranking, worse than Australia and Morocco for Ireland. So even worse the things, no wins in 8, they haven't scored in the last 6 games. You know, and obviously this is a crucial game for them because they are in the group with Portugal. So if they fail to beat Serbia, they are out. They're not going to go to the playoffs as well. And also, they've done so badly in the Nations League, so they don't have the chance even to get to the playoff by the back route. They have a new manager as well, so they have Stephen Kenny, you know, new manager. And the top players, it's defense, probably Coleman from Everton and Doherty for Tottenham. The rest of them, they all play in the Championship, in the League One in England, so I think there's a real mismatch of quality for this one. Let's go for a Serbia to win 2-0, 263.
Stojkovic scored the goal that kicked Spain out of the World Cup in Italy. Yes. 90. Then we stay in former Yugoslavia. We go to Slovenia, Croatia, checking out the head-to-head about these two teams that they used to be a nation. Slovenia have never beaten Croatia before. Now maybe they have a chance because we know how Croatia struggle, especially in the Nations League. They lost with Portugal and with Sweden. Now 4 games without victories, but Slovenia is not doing great as well. They drew with Greece, beat Kosovo, something that was kind of expected. At least they were topping their group in the Nations League. Croatia, remember Danny, of course, runner-up of the World Cup in Russia, and the odds for an away victory here is 1.92, which is all right, I would say.
Yeah, of course, Croatia are favorites for this one, although they traveled to a Slovenia team unbeaten in the last 8 games, but they only played small teams. Probably Slovenia is one of those, the biggest of the small teams, but Croatia probably is not in their league. Slovenia, hasn't qualified for a major tournament since 2010. So, they are missing from the big stage. And in fact, they're not having great successes either in the qualifiers or in the Nations League. In the current squad of Slovenia, there are a lot of Italians, a lot of players again playing the Serie A, and these are the most important. Ilicic for Atalanta, although he's going through a difficult spell. Zajc for Genoa, Kurtic, Parma. Players that play for medium, small team. Again, they miss a big goal scorer. They probably never had a big goal scorer. The current one is Andras Sporar. He only scored 1 goal in 9 games this season, in the entire season. However, in the European qualifiers, they managed to beat Poland 2-0 at home. So, they could perform, but finished 4th in the group European qualifiers alongside North Macedonia. So they cannot be a threat for Croatia, despite having probably one of the best goalkeepers in Europe, Oblak. Croatia have lost 5 of the last 6 in the Nations League, very disappointing, but secured the qualifiers for the qualification for the Euros very early, top of the group. And recently we saw how much Dinamo Zagreb put a performance against Tottenham, and sometimes we are surprised by the so-called small teams. But we have to remember, Croatia is a small nation, but a proud nation, a footballing nation. How many talents has Croatia produced time and time again? It's no surprise that the Orisic, who scored 3 goals against Tottenham, has been called up for the national team, and is a team that since they became independent in the early 90s, they always qualified for major tournaments, but in 2000 and 2010. So they're obviously favored to go through. They might not have Perisic and Brozovic, the 2 Inter player. Again, depends on the COVID situations there, but I think they're favored. So let's go for Croatia to win the first half, 250.
They have later Cyprus and Malta at home, so easy games theoretically. This one is tougher in Ljubljana. Then for Thursday, we start with Spain-Greece. Of course, Spain really favorite here, 1.22, especially after the victory that no one could believe against Germany in the Nations League, 6-0. Before they were having these kind of ups and downs. They lost with Ukraine, drew with Switzerland, Netherlands. Luis Enrique is changing a lot the squad, but he's building, in my opinion, a very good team, whereas Greece, Dani, is not the team that we remember maybe 10, 15 years ago. Now they are in a very bad patch, we can say. They drew with Slovenia, beat Moldova, but it's a team that they've not done anything big in the last few years, so this should be an easy victory for Spain in Granada. They play.
Absolutely, and Spain comes on the back of 5 wins in the last 8. There are some few new faces for Luis Enrique, as you mentioned. Everyone wants to see Pedri from Barcelona, first call up, Marcos Llorente from Atletico. The striker Gerard Moreno probably will start. He's in good form, and he showed in the league and in the Europa League. Maybe some of the issues with Spain is in the middle of the field. Who's the creative mind there? We know that Busquets is getting old. Thiago hasn't had a great season at Liverpool. Fabian Ruiz is coming back from an injury. He's doing a bit better for Napoli. But, overall, Spain are obviously rightly favourite, also because they play Greece, which is 53rd in the FIFA ranking, so it's very low. And they had a poor European qualifiers campaign, which they revitalize in the last 3 games. They win all of the 3 games at the end. So in total, they are unbeaten in 9, but against teams that are obviously inferior to Spain. When they played Italy in the qualifiers, they were soundly beaten 5-0 on aggregate, and they looked second best every single minute. They are managed by a fairly non-experienced John van Schip. He used to play for Ajax, for Genoa. Again, a lot of experience in Asia, in Japan, etc., but never managed a national team. So from 2019 2019. That's his first experience. And also, if you look at the current squad, none of the players that Van Schip has called is in double figures for the national squad. So again, they miss a goal scorer. Spain to win both halves. So Spain to win comfortably. Spain to win both halves. 225.
Also very favorite home teams. We have Sweden, Georgia, and here the headlines for sure is for Ibra. He's coming back to the national team. He will play the Euro, hopefully. He's 39 and still delivering for Milan. And Sweden is a team that is rock solid in the last years, although their last game was a defeat against France. But we know how strong is France. They were even able to beat Croatia at home. So again, Sweden is a good team. Georgia, like third tier level in the European football, never qualified for a big tournament. Their last games was a draw with Estonia, and they even lost against Armenia. So we check the odds. Done is 1.35. The question is how many goals Sweden will score against Georgia.
Well, and how many goals Ibrahimovic will score, because he has already scored 15 this season, and sometimes age doesn't matter. However, we have also to remember with Ibrahimovic that he managed to play so well until he was 39 because he hasn't played for his national team. So he has rested where others were going to play abroad and with the national team. Let's see how it goes, because now there are 3 games in 8 days, potentially the Euros for Ibra as well. It's a lot of games for him, but so far the numbers are on his side. So this Sweden, obviously, the Sweden team is talented. They also have Jan Kulusevski, who's playing a lot for Juventus, had a promising start. He's back of the season. Now he's back in the team. The recent results are not great. 5 defeats, 1 wins in the last 6. But when they play small teams, they keep clean sheets. 5 clean sheets versus small teams, including also against Romania in the latest European qualifiers. Of course, Sweden will go to the Europe. They were former quarterfinalists in the World Cup 2018. So they are obviously on course to qualify again. Interesting players as well. Forsberg from Leipzig, Svamberg, who plays regular for Bologna, and the prior Georgia team, as I said, it's like 3rd tier, 4th tier team. No wins in 5. Recently lost to Armenia, to North Macedonia. The only good results were 2-0 to Ireland and Denmark in European qualifiers. Can they go away and grab a win and grab a goal? I don't think so. Over 2.5 goals, maybe a couple of goals from Ibra, 2.2.
Over 2.5 goals for Sweden, or in the game in general?
In the game in general.
All right, then you go for goals. Next one, also really favorite. Let's see how you find the value. Danny, Italy, Northern Ireland. Italy, we know that they missed the last World Cup, so for sure they don't want any concession in this qualifying, as they didn't concede anything for the Euro qualifier. Mancini's men looking rock solid. Last games, victory against Bosnia, victory against Poland, keeping clean sheets, unbeaten in 22. If I'm not wrong, so they should beat Northern Ireland, a team that drew with Romania and lost with Austria in the Nations League. This is not as bad team as Georgia before, but again, but in the second tier for sure of Europe teams. So again, if Italy is focused, Danny, there shouldn't be a problem despite all the issues with COVID and with Inter.
Absolutely. I think, Italy comes on the back of great results. They topped the group, European qualifiers. They won all the 10 games, 30 goals scored in the qualifiers, only 1 conceded in the last 7. So these are all great numbers, which says Mancini, if you look at the statistics, is the best Italian manager after 27 games. So, okay, the only caveat is they only played big teams twice, Netherlands and Portugal, so he's never done it against big teams. But for this match in particular, they play a small team, which is definitely beatable for Italy. Probably the only issue with Italy is the number 9. Who's going to start? Is it going to be Belotti? Is it going to be Immobile? None of them seem to find the great form with the Azzurri shirt, and also both of them, they're going through a difficult spell at Lazio and Torino. They haven't scored many in the last few weeks, but Mancini will stick to his 4-3-3 formation with Insigne, who's been pivotal at Napoli recently, probably with Chiesa on the right flank. So the only doubt is who's going to be at number 9. For these qualifiers, Mancini has called up to 38 players, so they're going to be perhaps a load of rotation in the second and third game, but the best team is going to start this one. Northern Ireland, no wins since October 2019. They conceded a lot of goals in the last seven games, 13 conceded. And, since Michael O'Neill left to go and manage Stoke City, they have changed. I mean, Michael O'Neill had made them a very hard-to-beat team. They qualified them for the Euro. They had an identity. Now with Ian Barraclough, which was the former under-21 team manager, they haven't won. He hasn't won a game in 8. So, they have to find, again, a way of playing. If you look at the team, again, apart the fact that some of them play in the second and third division of England, but it's quite old, it's quite an aging team, so it's still the O'Neill team carried over into this one, so they might struggle a bit. They got Johnny Evans, 33, the captain of Rangers, Stephen Davis, 33. Then up front, the main man is Lafferty. I mean, Lafferty's been on forever. I mean, he's changed so many teams. He played in Italy already twice, for Palermo, for Regina later on this season. Both experiences were highly unsuccessful. Now he's back in Scotland at Kilmarnock, so I don't think they really can trouble Italy, which should win, of course, and should win both halves 2-50.
Also, Northern Ireland, they finished 4th in their group of the Nations League with only 2 points, so they are relegated. Difficult trip. And if we check the odds, Danny, the most balanced games that we are finding is this one, Scotland-Austria. Basically, every single outcome is paid the same. All good odds, around 3.5. Scotland is slightly favorite to beat Austria. And this is a funny group because there is not a big national team. Denmark is the favorite for sure to qualify. But I think these two teams have options, especially at least to go to the playoffs. So this is a very, very important game, even if it's the first one. And the last results, Scotland, they lost with Israel and Slovakia. So they are not in great form, but for sure they are still in the hangover of going finally to the Euro with this penalty shootout against Serbia. Whereas Austria, they are in better form, 6 unbeaten games, 5 victories, 1 draw. They top their group of the Nations League. So according to the last results, actually Austria look a little bit better.
Yeah, but for this one, there is a big question mark, which is whether the Bundesliga-based players for Austria can travel to Scotland, because due to the current restriction, they might not be able, and that's why Scotia has named a 43-man squad. So basically, it's taking 3 squad to potentially to Scotland. And if they miss the players in Bundesliga, Alaba, Sabitzer, for example, they are already missing the captain Baumgartlinger, the Bayer Leverkusen player, because he's injured. So it's already starting to look the second string Austria. However, Austria, obviously they should be confident because they won 4 of the last 6 games in the Nations League, always scored in the last in the last games, so score in 9 of the last 10 games. So it's a team that always seem to find the net. They qualified for the Euros despite losing the first 2 games, so it's a team that also got character and can come back. But also we have to say that Austria probably was in one of the easiest group of the Euros, so they finished runner-up against Poland. For Scotland, with Steve Clarke, with the new manager, they're finding a new mentality, more strength, more pride as well. It was a Scotland team that was a little bit in disarray. I remember them losing to Kazakhstan and to Israel in the previous qualifiers, and now the new manager has instilled much more confidence. And again, they making the most of their strengths, which is possibly at the defense, with Tierney, with Robertson. That's where they got the best players. It's interesting to see if the Southampton striker Che Adams, who's doing well this season, scored the weekend, will start. I think the big doubt with Scotland is whether can they do it against top teams, because again in the qualifiers they lost soundly against Belgium, against Russia in the Euros qualifier. So we need to see at what level they are. Let's go for both to score 1.95.
Okay, and the last game we are going to analyze is Germany Iceland. This should be an easy victory for Germany, but their pride has to come back to Deutschland after the heavy defeat against Spain. So maybe Iceland is the right team actually to thrash, because maybe we remember this Iceland team, no, that made us happy for the average supporter, but they are doing really bad in the last months. Danny, they made 0 points in the Nations League. They lost with England, Denmark, basically with everyone, also in the Euro qualifier with Hungary, so they will miss this big tournament. So this should be an easy victory for Germany after they will face Romania and North Macedonia.
Germany goes into the game knowing their head coach Joachim Löw will leave at the end of the Euros, but I don't think it's a great surprise, and it's a Germany team that has lost only won 2 of the last 6 games, but they scored 30 in the Euro qualifiers. So when it matters, probably the Nations League didn't matter too much to them, they always deliver. First call up for very interesting player Musiala from Bayern Munich, and plus all the other big stars of Bayern Munich will be there. The question mark is on the number 9 for Germany. Will Timo Werner find his scoring boots again? He's going through a difficult spell at Chelsea, but nonetheless the Germany team is hugely favorite against an Iceland that I think since a couple of years they just lost their magic. They lost the spark or the surprise effect. Before, their style of football very direct, very physical, surprised some of the teams, also because some of the players perhaps were not very well known, but since the World Cup they slipped backwards, and now they are 46 in the FIFA ranking, even below Northern Ireland, which I didn't speak highly a few minutes ago. So they lost all the Nations League games. Iceland conceded 13 in the last 5, so it's very difficult to find an odd that will pay a lot for you. Let's go to Germany to win 2-0, so win and keep a clean sheet, 190.
Thank you, Danny. We've analyzed the most important games. As you've seen, the odds for the favorites are very low. There is a lot of difference between teams. Asian handicap is always a good option to win a little bit more money. And also another good option, Danny, is making an ACCA. So we add odds, and maybe we can get higher payouts. So let's see what you have for us in this week.
5 out of the 10 games analyzed. So Belgium to win the first half, Serbia to win, Sweden Asian handicap -1, Italy to score in both halves, and Germany to keep a clean sheet, and the total odds is 15.79.
Perfect, Danny. You know a lot also about international football.
Internet is a great friend, we have to say.
So we don't have Serie A, but we have interesting games as you've seen. Thank you, Danny. As always, a pleasure.
See you soon. Keep enjoying great football.
You see, so many games, so many bets we can place in this week. Let me know what you think about Danny's tips in the comment section, and you will also have the chance to win a £10 free bet with Novibet. And if you enjoyed the video, do not forget to click on the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell to get all the notifications. And also remember, we have a podcast. You can listen to all our videos in our podcast, and we will be back with more odds on qualifications very soon.